Hi friends, it's Dr. Jennifer Grameth here with you today from W.A.Y Health and Wellness, and I want to talk to you just for a few minutes about radiation. This is a concern that many of my clients have because when they get the biofeedback test, they see that EMFs and radiation is actually one of the big contributing factors to their weakened immune system or malfunction of certain organs and glands. So let's try to clear this up because there is a lot of misleading information on the web. You have a group of scientists that say there's not enough evidence that shows that EMFs from cell phones, computers, microwaves, from power lines, all of that, there's not enough evidence that state that it can have negative effects on your health. And then you have another group that says the complete opposite, that it has great effects because it damages the DNA of the body. It crosses the blood-brain barrier. It causes psychological effects, immunological effects, and they have the science to show that. So what's the deal? Is it or is it not? Well, not all radiation is the same. So you have ultraviolet radiation that is coming from the sun, and we all know that overexposure to that, which causes sunburns, is damaging to your immunological functions. It damages the tissue, right? But we need exposure to that type of ultra radiation because it's good for our immune system. So 20, 30 minutes a day of sun exposures is very beneficial to our health. Too much exposure is actually very damaging to our health. Radon is another type of radiation that comes from the earth. And when you have an inspection on your home, that's one thing that they test is the radon levels. Too high of radon levels actually causes cancer and just a myriad of symptoms called radiation sickness. It can cause your diabetes, cancer, heart disease, all of that with overexposures to these types of natural sources of radiation. But as long as the levels are low, they are safe and they don't cause any harmful effects as far as we know. All right. But then you look at more of the electronics like the cell phones, the computers, the microwaves, the electronics in the house, the Wi-Fi, the 5G, all of those, do those impact our body? And I would say, after looking at all the research, it absolutely does. I don't quite understand the group of scientists that say that there's not enough evidence that show harmful effects because their research shows that the standard amount of radiation coming off of a cell phone that the government allows us to be exposed to is 1.5 watts per kilogram. And so they, according to the World Health Organization, that is a safe level. However, according to the World Health Organization, that they have noted that they see physiological changes when it's 0.03 watts per kilogram exposure to the human body. So not even 1 watt per kilogram, less than that, there is damage, some types of damage to the body. Physiological changes, effects on the immune system, negative effects on the immune system, which means it's weakening the immune system at low levels. I mean, not even a half of a point. And so if they're saying 1.5 watts per kilograms is the safe for cell phones, then that doesn't really add up, because they also say that it induces DNA damage at 0.0024 watts per kilogram. It says that it affects the heart, the calcium in the heart, at even lower watts per milligram. And so that doesn't really stick to what their standard is. However, the cell phones are not the only thing that we have exposures to with EMFs, even though most people have a cell phone these days. I looked at the Environmental Working Group put out a great study on cell phones, and they actually show how much radiation is coming out of each cell phone. And the closer you have it to the body, the more radiation damage you're going to have. So when you hold your phone up to the side of your head, your brain is so sensitive to radiation, and that radiation is emitting straight into the brain of adults. Now with children, the radiation is intensified, so it's much more of a problem with exposures of EMFs to children than it is for adults, but both cause health disturbances and can lead to chronic disease processes. There was a study where they took 5,000 people. Half of them had exposures to electronics, cell phones, computers. The other half did not. The study showed that the half that had the exposures had higher cases of brain cancer, for one, other cancers like leukemia and all different types of cancers, but more of the blood cancers and then the brain cancer. And it was interesting that most of the brain cancer cases, it was on the side where they held their cell phone. It was right where they held their cell phone. That constant radiation caused the body to grow a tumor. So that was very significant to me. And like I said, the radiation with children is even greater. And so it will affect their development and their growth among the risk that it has to develop cancer in their body. And so be very, very careful, you parents out there that have young children using these cell phones and computers for hours at a time. Very, very unhealthy. So I think that has kind of cleared up the research, because you can look at lots of research put out by various universities, the World Health Organization, Environmental Working Group, and you start looking at the numbers and you will soon see that we all have exposures to much greater levels of EMFs that do show to cause physiological, psychological effects. It causes immunological effects on the body. It affects the cardiovascular system. It affects every system of the body in some way, shape, or form, directly or indirectly. And so be aware of that and how much you are exposed to EMFs. Some of the symptoms that you may have with that mean that you are getting too much EMFs is symptoms that many Americans struggle with. Insomnia, because it disrupts the melatonin levels in the neurotransmitters. It can cause a disturbance of metabolism of glucose, so it can be a precursor to prediabetes, diabetes. It can cause various types of cancers, and so you want to be very aware of this so that you limit your exposures too. So some quick tips for you is to, when you use your cell phone, use a headset instead of holding it up to your head, or use your speakerphone, and don't carry it on your body. Men and women tend to put it in their pocket and have it all day long right up next to them. I noticed that studies show that men who carry it on the side of their hip, like in a clip, actually had more cases of prostate cancer. And it also affected their sperm count. Women who carried it when they would jog in the morning, like stuck down in their bra, would develop breast tumors on that side. Pay close attention to that. These are dangerous little tools. They're great to use to communicate with one another, but limit your exposures to these things and just don't carry them on your body. The further it is away from you, the less your exposure will be of the EMFs that are harmful to you. So I hope that's helped you to get a little bit more of an understanding of the dangers of EMF exposures. But I don't want you to panic, because there are all kinds of devices and tools out there that you can utilize if you have to work on cell phones and computers like I do. I have chosen to use the Harmony pendant because I actually did a study with clients on the Harmony pendant. And what was interesting during the study, what we would do, we would bring them in, do a heart rate variability without anything on them, and get their baseline. We would then stress their body with either a cell phone or electric fan, and then we would do another heart rate variability, and it was drastically different in most cases. And then we would put the harmonizing pendant on them and take another heart rate variability after we have stressed their body, and it was able to harmonize it and to balance out their sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system again, which is very important. And so I encourage you to, check this out. It's the Harmony Pendant. You can get more information at W.A.Y Health and Wellness. You can call our office at 404-474-2100. I still have a couple more people that can be involved in the study if you are local, where you can come into our office and get tested. We will actually gift you with a pendant if you will give us your time and let us test you with this study. So a few more spots left. If you're interested in that, just contact the office again, 404-474-2100, and talk to my assistant Angela. She is heading up that study. So I thank you for your time and your patience, and I hope this has given you a little more information about the dangers of EMFs. But I encourage you, do your own research, study as much as you can. Educate yourself on the dangers that are out there in our world to protect not only you, but also your family. Thank you, and God bless.